Hi, I'm Nicole with morningchores.com, and today we're talking everything butternut squash. This video is part of a new series where we are going to spotlight a new plant every single month. So whether it's a flower, vegetable, or fruit, we will spotlight that plant and talk everything about it. So if there's a specific plant that you would like us to do a video on, be sure to leave it in the comments section below. In today's video, we're talking butternut squash, and I'm going to talk about the history and origin, nutritional benefits, growing instructions. I'm going to discuss long-term and short-term storage, and at the end of the video, I'm going to share one of my family's favorite butternut squash recipes. This vegetable is part of the squash family, and most people think of it as a vegetable, but it is technically a fruit. Butternut squash originated in Waltham, Massachusetts by a gentleman named Charles Luget. Charles Luget wanted to come up with a squash that wasn't so big that it was too much food to eat, but yet it was big enough so that it could feed a decent-sized family for one meal. He started crossbreeding different squashes and finally came up with the butternut squash. The squash got its name from its buttery smooth texture and flavor with a hint of nuttiness underneath. Charles Luget started taking his butternut squashes to local farmers markets, and they were a big hit. He also introduced them to the Waltham field station, and that's where they gained popularity. Butternut squash is high in fiber, phytonutrients, and minerals. Butternut squash also makes a great baby food. It was one of my daughter's favorites, and it's still her favorite to this day. Butternut squash is super easy to grow in your garden. You plant it in springtime depending on where you live geographically, and it has a growing season of 110 to 120 days. You start by planting the seeds in your garden, and you can collect these seeds from the squash itself, which I did a Seed Saving 101 video. You can head over to the Morning Chores video playlist and check that out. And from here, what you would do is plant these in your soil. Now, what you want to do is mound that dirt up. Squash plants, as well as cucumbers and melons, really need good drainage. So the best way to ensure that is to mound up that dirt, plant the seed in the top of that mound, and then cover it with wood chips. From there, butternut squash is very low maintenance. All it needs is a lot of sun, keep it well watered, and you're good to go. The only thing you want to keep an eye out for is the squash beetle, which I'll talk about in a later video. Butternut squash is usually ready to harvest in the fall. We harvested ours at the end of September. When purchasing butternut squash at your local grocery store or farmer's market, it is in season by the end of summer through fall. So be sure to look for them then, because that is when they taste the best. When choosing a butternut squash, you want to look for one that has nice golden color, it's firm and heavy. First, let's talk about short-term storage. If you purchase a butternut squash from your local grocery store and you decide that you're going to cook it in the next day or two, then it's perfectly fine sitting on your kitchen counter. However, if you plan on cooking it in the next week or two, then you might want to pop that butternut squash in the refrigerator. Now let's talk long-term storage. You can freeze it, and you can also store it in a root cellar or basement. As far as freezing goes, what you want to do is de-skin it, remove the seeds, chop it up in cubes, then you can put it in a Ziploc bag, but make sure that you label your Ziploc bag with what's inside and the date that you froze it. Then just pop it in your freezer, and when it comes time to cook it, you want to pull it out of your freezer, let it unthaw on your kitchen counter, and then use it according to your recipe. The way that we like to store butternut squash on a long-term basis is in our basement. We don't have a root cellar, but we use our basement, and what we do is we have a large plastic tub that we filled with sawdust. Sawdust helps wick away the moisture, And then what you're gonna do is just put your butternut squash among the sawdust, but you wanna keep two things in mind. The first thing you wanna keep in mind is the butternut squash cannot touch each other. If they touch each other, the skin will break down, causing them to rot, which is something you don't want. The other thing you wanna keep in mind is the lid. You do not want to fasten it on airtight. You wanna just loosely set the lid on top so that way there's some airflow going on inside the tub, but yet you're keeping the lid on enough to keep critters out. Now that we've talked everything butternut squash, let's head to the kitchen counter and I'll share with you one of my family's favorite butternut squash recipes. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something new. You can head over to morningchores.com where you can find all kinds of information on homesteading, DIY, gardening, and much, much more. Have a great day and we'll see you next time.